The alarm bells rang through every hallway of Research Station Epsilon 7. Jake Morrison looked up from his coffee cup and sighed. Another false alarm, he thought. The station had been giving them warnings all week about minor space weather. But this time, something felt different. Jake walked to the main control room where his fellow humans Lisa Carter and Mark Thompson were already gathered around the huge display screen. The screen showed a massive storm approaching their location. This was not like the small space storms they usually tracked. This one was enormous, dark, and moving fast toward their station. "How big is this thing?" Jake asked, setting down his coffee cup on the metal table. Lisa pointed at the screen with her finger. "The computer says it covers 3 solar systems. The temperature readings are crazy low. Look at these numbers." Jake looked at the display. The storm was bringing temperatures that would drop to minus 200 degrees. Even for someone from Minnesota who loved cold weather, this seemed pretty serious. Mark was typing on his keyboard, pulling up more information. "The storm will hit us in about 6 hours, maybe less. The computer keeps changing the time as it gets more data." Around them, the alien crew members were starting to panic. Vex, who belonged to the thermal species, was already packing his emergency gear. His red skin was turning a darker shade, which meant he was scared. The thermal species lived on planets. Near their sun where it was always hot, even normal room temperature made them uncomfortable. "This will kill us all," Vex said, his voice shaking. "No living thing can survive such cold. We must leave the station immediately." Rin, one of the aquatic species, was also preparing to leave. Her blue skin was turning pale, and the gills on her neck were opening and closing rapidly. "My species has never recorded temperatures this low. Our home planet never gets colder than your Earth spring weather. This storm will freeze us solid in minutes." The Aryan species members, Nex and Pell, were the calmest of the aliens, but even they looked worried. Their gray feathers were standing up, making them look bigger than usual. This was how their species showed fear. "We have studied many weather patterns," Nex said in his quiet voice. "But nothing like this. Our instruments have never measured such extreme cold. Even our emergency suits cannot protect us from these temperatures." Jake, Lisa, and Mark looked at each other. They had worked with these alien species for 2 years on this research station. The station was built to study extreme weather patterns from across the galaxy. It was the perfect job for humans who liked adventure and strange weather. The station itself was huge, with living areas, laboratories, and observation decks. It orbited around a frozen moon that already had ice covering most of its surface. The moon was perfect for studying cold weather patterns, which is why they built the station here. "Are you humans coming with us?" Cole, another thermal species, member, asked. His emergency ship was already being prepared in the landing bay. "You cannot stay here. The cold will kill you just like it will kill us." Jake looked at the storm data again. The numbers were impressive, but something about the whole situation reminded him of winters back home on Earth. Sure, minus 200 degrees was colder than anything on Earth, but humans had survived in some pretty tough places before. "What do you think?" Jake asked Lisa and Mark quietly. Lisa was the survival expert on their team. She had lived through situations that would scare most people. "The station has good heating systems. We have warm clothes. The emergency supplies include enough food for weeks." Mark nodded. He knew the station better than anyone. "The building is strong. It was built to handle extreme conditions. The heating system has 3 backup power sources. We should be fine if we stay inside." The alien crew members were now running around the station, grabbing their personal items and loading them into emergency ships. Their panic was getting worse as the storm got closer. Tim, an aquatic species member, stopped next to the humans. "You are making a terrible mistake if you stay. This storm is not normal cold. This is the kind of cold that turns air into solid chunks. Nothing can live through this." Jake looked at the screen again. The storm was definitely big and cold, but the station was built to handle extreme weather. That was the whole point of being here. We appreciate your concern, but I think we will stay and keep monitoring the storm. All of the alien crew members stopped what they were doing and stared at Jake. Their faces showed complete shock and confusion. "You want to stay?" Vex asked, his red skin now almost purple with fear. "You want to stay and monitor a storm that will kill you?" "Someone needs to keep recording data," Lisa said simply. "That is why we are here, to study extreme weather." The aliens looked at each other with expressions the humans had never seen before. It was like the aliens could not understand what the humans were thinking. Pell, from the Aryan species, spoke up. "In all our years of space travel, we have never met a species that would choose to stay in certain death just to collect information." "It is not certain death," Mark said, checking his equipment readings. "The station is built for this kind of weather. We have everything we need to survive." The alien crew members finished loading their ships quickly. They were clearly in a hurry to get away from the station before the storm arrived, but they kept looking back at the humans with worried expressions. As the alien ships prepared to leave, Rin sent a message to the humans. "We will monitor your life signs from a safe distance. When you change your minds and want to evacuate, signal us immediately. But please, do not wait too long. Once the storm hits, we cannot come back to rescue you." Jake waved goodbye as the alien ships flew away from the station. Through the observation windows, he could see the storm getting closer. It looked like a giant wall of darkness and swirling ice crystals approaching them. "Well," Jake said, finishing his coffee, "looks like we are going to have an interesting few days." The storm was almost here, and the humans were completely alone on the research station. The alien ships were now small dots in the darkness of space. Jake Morrison walked back to the control room and sat down in his chair. The storm was getting bigger on the screen with each passing minute. The temperature readings kept dropping as the massive wall of ice and cold came closer to their station. Lisa Carter was checking their emergency supplies in the storage room. She made a list of everything they had: food for 3 weeks, water for a month, medical supplies, and enough batteries to power their personal heaters for days. The station had its own power system, but it was always good to be prepared. Mark Thompson was in the engine room, looking at all the heating systems. The main heater was working perfectly. The backup heater was ready to go if needed. The emergency heater had full power. He felt confident that they could keep the station warm enough to survive. Meanwhile, the alien ships were sending worried messages back to the station. "Human crew, please reconsider your decision," came Vex's voice over the radio. "Our instruments show the storm will arrive in 4 hours. The temperature will drop so fast that even your heating systems cannot keep up." Jake picked up the radio microphone. "Thanks for the concern, Vex. We are monitoring the situation. Everything looks manageable from here." There was silence on the radio for a few moments. Then Rin's voice came through, sounding very upset. "Jake, you do not understand. This is not normal cold weather. This storm has ice that can freeze metal. It can freeze the air you breathe before it reaches your lungs." Lisa came back from checking the supplies and heard the radio conversation. She took the microphone from Jake. "Rin, we appreciate your worry, but humans have lived through very cold weather before. We have clothes for cold weather, and we know how to stay warm. But not this cold." Tim's voice joined the conversation. "The coldest temperature ever recorded on any planet with life was only -100 degrees. This storm is twice as cold as that." Mark returned from the engine room and listened to the radio chatter. The aliens were clearly getting more worried as time passed. Their voices showed real fear for the humans left behind on the station. "Human crew," Nex's calm voice came over the radio. "We have been studying extreme weather for many years. We have never seen any living creature survive the kind of cold this storm brings. Please think about evacuating while there is still time." Jake looked at his 2 teammates. Lisa shrugged her shoulders. Mark smiled and shook his head. None of them felt like leaving their post. "Listen, everyone. Jake said into the microphone. "We understand your concerns, but this is what we came here to do. We are here to study extreme weather patterns. This storm is exactly the kind of thing. We need to observe and record." The alien voices on the radio became more urgent. "You cannot study anything if you are dead," Cole said. "Dead humans cannot send scientific reports back to Earth." "We are not planning to die," Lisa said calmly. "We have everything we need to survive. The station is built for extreme conditions." Pell's voice came through the static. "No station has ever been tested in conditions this extreme. You are gambling with your lives for scientific data." Mark took the microphone. "Sometimes you have to take risks to learn new things. Besides, our equipment shows that the station can handle these temperatures." Outside the observation windows, the first signs of the storm were becoming visible. Small ice crystals were starting to form on the outer hull of the station. The temperature display showed that it was already getting much colder in the space around them. The alien ships were now far enough away to be safe from the storm, but close enough to monitor the station with their instruments. They were scanning the station, constantly checking for any signs that the humans were in trouble. "The outer temperature has dropped 50 degrees in the last hour," Vex reported over the radio. "At this rate, the station will be completely frozen in less than 3 hours. Jake walked to the observation deck and looked out at the approaching storm. It was an amazing sight. The storm looked like a giant wall of sparkling ice and swirling snow that stretched as far as he could see. It was beautiful in a terrifying way. "You should see this view," Jake said into his radio. "This storm is incredible. I have never seen anything like it." "Jake, you are looking at your death approaching," Rin said, her voice full of worry. "How can you think it is beautiful?" Lisa joined Jake at the observation window. The storm was getting closer very quickly now. She could see ice forming on the outside of the window. "It reminds me of blizzards back home in Alaska," she said. "Just a lot bigger." The aliens could not understand this response. On their home planets, extreme weather meant danger and death. When bad weather came, everyone found shelter and waited for it to pass. No one stood around admiring it or comparing it to weather back home. "Humans are very strange," Tim said quietly, over the radio, but loud enough for everyone to hear. Mark was back in the control room watching all the instrument readings. The storm was affecting their equipment already. Some of the exterior sensors were starting to freeze up, but all the important systems were still working normally. "External sensors are showing some ice buildup," Mark reported. "But all internal systems are running fine. Temperature inside the station is still comfortable." The radio crackled with multiple alien voices talking at the same time. They were discussing among themselves whether the humans had some kind of secret technology that protected them from extreme cold. Some thought the humans might have special biological adaptations that other species did not know about. "Do humans have some kind of genetic modification for cold weather?" Nex asked directly. "No special modifications," Lisa answered. "We just grew up in places where it gets cold. You learn to deal with it." "How cold does it get on your planet?" Call asked. "In some places it can get down to minus 60 or 70 degrees, Jake said. "People still go outside and work in that weather. They just wear the right clothes." There was a long silence on the radio. Finally, Vex spoke. "Your species works outside in temperatures that would kill us even with our best protective suits." "Different species, different tolerances," Mark said simply. The storm was almost at the station now. Through the windows, they could see ice crystals swirling around in thick clouds. The temperature readings were dropping faster and faster. "This is your last chance to evacuate," Pell said urgently. "In 30 minutes, the storm will be too strong for us to attempt any rescue." Jake looked at Lisa and Mark one more time. Both of them nodded. "Thanks for the offer," Jake said into the radio. "But we are staying put. Time to see what this storm can really do." The cosmic ice storm hit Research Station Epsilon 7 like a hammer made of frozen darkness. One moment, Jake Morrison could see stars through the observation windows. The next moment, everything outside was white and gray, swirling ice moving so fast it looked like a solid wall. The station shook as the storm winds hit it. The metal walls made loud banging sounds as ice chunks struck them over and over. The temperature readings on the control room display dropped so quickly that the numbers looked like they were broken. "Wow," Lisa Carter said, watching the display screen. "Minus 150 degrees already, and it is still dropping." The alien voices on the radio were frantic now. "Human crew, respond immediately," Vex's voice crackled through the static. "Our sensors show the storm has reached your location. What is your status?" Jake picked up the microphone while watching ice form on the inside of the observation windows. "We are here, Vex. The storm just hit us. Pretty impressive light show out there." "Light show?" Rin's voice was high with panic. "You should be freezing to death right now. How are you still alive?" Mark Thompson was checking all the heating systems on his control panel. The main heater was working hard, but keeping up with the cold. The backup systems were ready, but not needed yet. "All systems normal in here," he reported. "Temperature inside the station is holding steady at 22 degrees. 22 degrees above freezing?" Tim asked over the radio. "How is that possible?" "Good insulation," Mark answered simply. "And a really good heater." Outside, the storm was getting worse. The wind was so strong that it was bending the station's communication antenna. Ice was building up on everything faster than they had ever seen before. The exterior cameras were already frozen over, showing only white static on their screens. "External cameras are out," Lisa reported. "Too much ice on the lenses." "Can you still see anything through the windows?" Nex asked over the radio. Jake looked through the observation deck windows. The ice on the glass was getting thicker, but he could still see out a little bit. The storm looked like being inside a tornado made of snow and ice. Everything was spinning and moving so fast it made him dizzy to watch. "Still got some visibility," Jake said, "though it is getting harder to see through the ice buildup." The temperature display now showed minus 180 degrees outside. The alien crew members monitoring from their ships could not believe what their instruments were telling them. "The humans are still alive at minus 180 degrees, Cole said, and his voice sounded confused. "This should be impossible." "Maybe their instruments are broken," Pell suggested. "Maybe they do not realize how cold it really is." Jake heard this comment and checked their thermometer readings against the backup sensors. All the instruments showed the same temperature. "Our instruments are working fine," he said into the radio. "It really is minus 180 degrees out there." "And you are not concerned about this?" Vex asked. "Well, it is definitely cold," Lisa said, "but the heater is keeping up with it." Mark was putting on his heavy winter coat and warm boots. "I think I should go outside and check the exterior equipment," he said to Jake and Lisa. "Make sure the storm is not damaging anything important." Jake and Lisa stared at him. Going outside in this storm seemed like a bad idea, even for humans. "Are you sure about that?" Lisa asked. "Someone needs to check the power generator and the communication equipment," Mark said. "If something breaks, we need to fix it before it gets worse." The alien voices on the radio went completely silent for a moment. Then all of them started talking at the same time. "Did that human just say he was going outside?" Rin asked. "In the middle of the storm," Tim added. "At minus 180 degrees. Vex finished. Mark was now putting on his insulated gloves and winter hat. "I will just take a quick look around the station, check all the important equipment." "Mark, no one can survive outside in those temperatures," Nex said over the radio. "Even for a few seconds." "I have good winter gear," Mark replied. "I should be fine for a few minutes." Jake and Lisa looked at each other. They knew Mark was tough, but this seemed extreme even for him. However, they also knew that someone did need to check the exterior equipment. "Take a safety line," Lisa said, "and stay connected to us on the radio." "Will do," Mark said, picking up a long rope from the emergency supplies. The aliens were now monitoring the station with every sensor they had. They watched as Mark put on his heavy winter clothes and prepared to go outside into what they considered certain death. "This human is about to commit suicide," Cole said quietly. Mark opened the airlock door and stepped outside into the storm. The wind immediately hit him like a wall of frozen air. Ice crystals stung his face where they hit his exposed skin. But his winter clothes kept most of his body warm. "Status report," Jake said into his radio. "Really windy out here," Mark's voice came back through the static. "And the ice is building up fast on everything, but the main power unit looks fine." The alien crew members were staring at their life sign monitors. According to their instruments, Mark should have been dead within 30 seconds of stepping outside. Instead, his vital signs showed he was cold but perfectly healthy. "How is this possible?" Rin whispered to the other aliens on their communication channel. Mark walked around the outside of the station, checking each piece of important equipment. The communication antenna was bent, but still working. The power generator was running. Normally, despite being covered in ice, the emergency systems were all functioning correctly. "Everything looks good out here," Mark reported. "Just a lot of ice buildup. Nothing we cannot handle." He spent 10 minutes outside in the storm, checking and clearing ice from the most important equipment. To the aliens watching, it looked like a human was taking a casual walk in conditions that would instantly kill any member of their species. "Temperature is now minus 200 degrees, Vex reported, his voice full of disbelief. "The human has been outside for 10 minutes in minus 200-degree weather. When Mark came back inside, he was cold but smiling. He took off his winter coat and hung it up to dry." "How was it?" Lisa asked. "Pretty chilly," Mark said. "Reminds me of that camping trip we took in Montana last winter. Remember how cold that got?" Jake nodded. "Yeah, that was a rough night. Good thing we had those sleeping bags." The aliens listening to this conversation could not process what they were hearing. The humans were comparing a deadly cosmic ice storm to a camping trip. "Humans are insane," Tim said quietly to his fellow crew members. The storm continued to rage around the station, but inside the three humans were comfortable and safe. The cosmic ice storm had been raging for 6 hours now. The temperature outside had reached minus 210 degrees and was holding steady there. Inside the research station, Jake Morrison was drinking hot coffee and looking at the weather data on his computer screen. "You know what?" Jake said suddenly, setting down his coffee cup. "This storm has probably frozen the ocean on the moon's surface. That means we could do some ice fishing." Lisa Carter looked up from her book. "Ice fishing? In the middle of a cosmic ice storm?" "Why not?" Jake said with a grin. "The ice should be thick enough to support us by now, and we have been trying to catch some of those deep water creatures for months. This storm probably drove them up toward the surface." Mark Thompson was checking the exterior equipment readings on his control panel. Everything was still working fine despite the extreme cold. "The ice layer on the ocean is already 12 feet thick according to our sensors," he said. "More than thick enough for ice fishing." The alien voices on the radio had been quiet for the past hour, but they were still monitoring the station constantly. When they heard the humans talking about going outside to fish, all of them started talking at once. "Did they just say ice fishing?" Vex asked, his voice full of confusion. "In the middle of the storm," Rin added. "They want to go fishing for fun." Tim sounded completely bewildered. Jake picked up the radio microphone. "Hey everyone, we are thinking about doing some ice fishing while this storm lasts. The conditions are perfect for it." There was complete silence on the radio for almost a full minute. Finally, Nex spoke up. "Jake, are you feeling well? The extreme cold might be affecting your thinking." "I feel great," Jake replied. "Cold weather always makes me want to go fishing. My dad taught me to ice fish when I was 8 years old." Lisa was already getting her winter gear out of storage. "I have not been ice fishing in years. This should be fun." Mark was looking through their equipment supplies. "We have some drilling, tools that should work for making holes in the ice." And I think there are some old fishing poles in the storage room. The aliens were now convinced that the extreme cold was making the humans lose their minds. In their experience, creatures exposed to deadly conditions often became confused and started making bad decisions before they died. Human crew, Pell said carefully, you are talking about recreational activities in weather that should kill you. This suggests your brains may be freezing. Our brains are fine, Lisa said, putting on her heavy winter boots. We are just going to take advantage of this great ice fishing weather. Jake found their emergency toolkit and pulled out a plasma torch that they used for equipment repairs. This should work great for cutting through the ice, he said. Mark had located 3 fishing poles and some basic fishing equipment in their supplies. We even have some artificial lures that might work on alien fish. The 3 humans spent an hour getting ready for their ice fishing trip. They put on their warmest clothes, gathered all their fishing equipment, and prepared a small portable heater to keep them comfortable while fishing. Meanwhile, the alien crews were frantically scanning the humans with every medical sensor they had. They were looking for signs of brain damage, hypothermia, or mental breakdown. All their readings showed the humans were perfectly healthy and thinking clearly. Their life signs are completely normal, Cole reported to the other aliens. Body temperature normal, brain activity normal, heart rate normal. Then why do they want to go fishing in a deadly ice storm? Vex asked. When the humans were ready, they opened the airlock and stepped outside into the storm. The wind was still, very strong, but it had become more steady and predictable. The ice and snow were still falling, but not as heavily as before. Perfect fishing weather, Jake said, his voice coming through clearly on the radio despite the storm noise. The humans walked across the frozen surface of the moon toward the area where the ocean had been. The storm had turned the entire ocean into solid ice. Jake used the plasma torch to cut a neat round hole through 12 feet of ice down to the liquid water underneath. Got it, Jake announced. Nice clean hole, about 2 feet across. Lisa set up their small portable heater next to the fishing hole. The heater created a warm bubble of air around their fishing spot. Mark arranged 3 small folding chairs in a circle around the hole. The aliens watched all of this through their long-range sensors. They could see the humans setting up what looked like a small camp on the frozen ocean surface. They are making themselves comfortable, Rin observed. They actually brought chairs. Jake dropped his fishing line into the hole in the ice. The water underneath was dark and cold, but not frozen. The storm must have stirred up all kinds of sea life, he said. They are probably confused and swimming closer to the surface. Within 5 minutes, Jake felt something pulling on his fishing line. Got something, he said, starting to reel in his catch. He pulled up a strange-looking fish-like creature that was about 2 feet long with silver scales and multiple fins. It was a species that none of the research teams had ever caught before. Look at this beauty, Jake said, holding up the creature for Lisa and Mark to see. Mark took out his research equipment and began taking measurements and photos of the fish. This is incredible! We have been trying to catch deep water specimens like this for months. Lisa dropped her fishing line into the hole. If the storm pushed the deep water creatures toward the surface, we might catch all kinds of new species. Today. The alien crews were completely silent now. They were watching 3 humans sit comfortably in chairs, fishing through a hole in the ice, in the middle of a cosmic ice storm that should have killed them hours ago. They are not just surviving, Tim said quietly. They are enjoying themselves. And catching fish, Pell added. They are actually succeeding at their mission while having fun. Mark caught the second fish 15 minutes later. This one was even stranger looking, with bioluminescent patches that glowed blue and green. Lisa caught a third fish that had transparent fins and could change colors. This is the best fishing trip ever, Jake said, baiting his hook for another try. By the second day of the cosmic ice storm, the 3 humans had caught more alien sea creatures than the research station had collected in the previous 6 months. Their fishing hole had become a window into the deep ocean world that had been impossible to reach before. Jake Morrison pulled up his seventh fish of the morning. This one was unlike anything they had seen before. It was about 3 feet long with metallic blue skin and 6 eyes arranged around its head. When it came out of the water, it made a sound like musical notes. "Lisa, you need to record this," Jake said, holding the creature carefully. "It is making music." Lisa Carter had her recording equipment ready. She was documenting every fish they caught with photos, sound recordings, and detailed measurements. "Got it," she said as the fish continued its strange song. "The sound pattern is unlike anything in our databases." Mark Thompson was busy taking water samples from their fishing hole. The extreme cold had brought water from the deepest parts of the ocean up to the surface. Each sample contained microscopic life forms that had never been studied before. "The water chemistry is amazing," Mark said, looking at his portable analysis equipment. "There are mineral compositions down here that we never knew existed on this moon." The alien crews in their distant ships were monitoring everything the humans were doing. Their instruments showed that the humans were making scientific discoveries faster than any research team in galactic history. In 2 days, they have collected more data than most research missions gather in a year, Nex reported to his fellow aliens. "And they are doing it in conditions that should be impossible to survive." Vex was studying the readings from his ship's sensors. "The specimens they are catching come from depths that our equipment cannot reach. The storm has brought deep ocean life to the surface where they can catch it easily." Jake reeled in another fish. This one was even more unusual. It had transparent skin so they could see all of its internal organs. Its bones glowed with a soft white light, and it had tentacles instead of fins. "This has to be from the deepest part of the ocean," Jake said, examining the creature. "Look how different it is from all the others." Lisa was taking detailed photos from every angle. "The transparent skin suggests it evolved in complete darkness, and those glowing bones probably help it communicate with others of its species." Mark was collecting samples of the strange water that came up with each fish. "The water these deep creatures live in has a completely different chemical makeup. There are elements here that we have never found anywhere else." The humans had been fishing for 12 hours straight and showed no signs of getting tired or cold. They were taking turns, with one person always fishing, while the other 2 documented their catches and analyzed samples. "Are you getting hungry?" Lisa asked Jake as he baited his hook again. "A little," Jake replied. "Maybe we should cook one of these fish and see what alien seafood tastes like." The aliens listening on the radio were horrified by this suggestion. "They want to eat the specimens?" Rin asked in shock. "They want to cook and eat alien life forms?" "That is what humans do with fish," Mark explained over the radio. "We catch them, study them, and then cook the ones that are safe to eat." Tim's voice came through the static. "How do you know which ones are safe to eat?" "Experience," Jake said simply. "My grandfather taught me to identify good eating fish when I was young." The humans set up a small cooking area next to their fishing spot. They used a portable camp stove to cook one of the smaller fish they had caught. The cooked fish smelled good and tasted like a cross between salmon and lobster. "Not bad," Lisa said, taking a bite. "A little chewy, but good flavor." While they ate their cooked fish, Jake continued fishing. He pulled up a creature that was so strange it took them several minutes to figure out which end was the head. It had a body like a snake, but with dozens of tiny legs along its sides. "This one is definitely going in the specimen containers," Mark said. "The biology department back on Earth will want to study this for years." By the end of the second day, they had caught 43 different species of alien sea life. Each creature was more unusual than the last. They had fish with multiple heads, creatures that could change their body shape, and organisms that seemed to be part plant and part animal. The alien crews were amazed by the variety of life forms the humans were discovering. "They have found more new species in 2 days than we found in 2 years, Pell observed. "The storm has given them access to parts of the ocean we never knew existed." and they are treating it like a vacation, Cole added. They are having fun while making the greatest scientific discoveries in galactic history. On the third day of the storm, Jake made the most incredible catch yet. When he pulled up his line, there was a creature attached that was almost as big as he was. It looked like a cross between an octopus and a dragon, with silver scales, 8 tentacles, and wings that sparkled like jewels. "This is unbelievable," Jake said, struggling to pull the large creature out of the water. "Lisa, Mark, come help me with this one." All 3 humans worked together to carefully lift the magnificent creature onto the ice. It was clearly intelligent, watching them with large, curious eyes. Its tentacles moved in patterns that seemed like it was trying to communicate. "I think it is trying to talk to us," Lisa said, recording the creature's movements. Mark was taking readings with his instruments. "Its brain activity is off the charts. This creature is definitely intelligent. The humans spent an hour studying the large creature before carefully lowering it back into the water. They watched as it swam away, its wings creating beautiful patterns of light in the dark water. "That was probably the most amazing thing I have ever seen," Jake said. The alien crews had witnessed the entire encounter through their sensors. They had never seen anything like the intelligent creature the humans had caught and released. "They found a new intelligent species," Vex said quietly, "and they treated it with respect and returned it safely to its home." The humans continued fishing for the rest of the third day, catching smaller but equally fascinating creatures. Their collection of specimens and data was now larger than any previous research mission in known galactic history. As the storm began to weaken on the 4th morning, Jake looked at their incredible collection of discoveries. "Best fishing trip ever," he said with a smile. On the 4th day, the cosmic ice storm finally began to weaken. The howling winds became gentle breezes, and the temperature started rising slowly from its lowest point of -215 degrees. Jake Morrison noticed the change. First, when he looked outside and saw that the ice on the observation windows was starting to melt around the edges. "Storm is breaking up," Jake announced to Lisa Carter and Mark Thompson, who were still organizing all the specimens they had caught during their 3-day fishing expedition. The humans had caught 68 different species of alien sea life during the storm. Their laboratory area was filled with sample containers, research notes, and more scientific data than they could process in months. Every surface in the station was covered with their discoveries. Mark was uploading all their data to the main research database. "This is incredible. We have documented more new life forms in 4 days than this research station has found in its entire 2-year history." Lisa was preparing the most important specimens for long-term storage. Some of the creatures they had caught were so unusual that they would need to be studied by experts from multiple scientific fields. "The biology department on Earth is going to go crazy when they see these discoveries," she said. Outside, the ice was starting to crack and shift as the temperature rose. The thick layer of ice that had covered the ocean was beginning to break apart. The humans could hear the sounds of ice moving and water flowing again. The alien ships that had been monitoring them from a safe distance were now moving closer to the research station. Their crews wanted to see what had happened to the humans during the deadly storm. "Human crew, please respond," came Vex's voice over the radio. He sounded nervous and uncertain. "Our sensors show that the storm is ending. What is your current status?" Jake picked up the radio microphone. "Hi, Vex. We are all fine here. Just finishing up some data entry from our fishing trip." "Fishing trip?" Rin's voice joined the conversation. "You call surviving a cosmic ice storm a fishing trip?" "Well, we did a lot of fishing," Lisa said. "Caught some amazing specimens, too. Wait until you see what we found." The alien ships were now close enough to dock with the research station. One by one, the alien crew members came aboard to see how the humans had survived the impossible storm. Vex was the first to enter the station. His red skin had returned to its normal color, but his eyes were wide with amazement as he looked around. The humans were sitting calmly at their workstations, organizing research data and drinking coffee. "You are all alive," Vex said, as if he could not believe what he was seeing. "Of course we are alive," Jake replied. "Why would we not be alive?" Rin entered the station next, followed by the other alien crew members. They all stared in shock at the massive collection of specimens and scientific equipment that filled every available space. "What is all this?" Tim asked, looking at the containers, full of preserved alien sea creatures. "Our catch from the past few days," Mark explained. "The storm brought up deep water species that we never would have been able to reach otherwise." Nex was examining some of the specimen containers with obvious amazement. "These creatures are from the deepest parts of the ocean. Some of them come from depths of over 10 miles below the surface. How did you catch them?" "Ice fishing," Lisa said simply. "The storm froze the ocean solid, so we could fish right through the ice to the deep water underneath." The aliens looked at each other with expressions of complete confusion. Pell spoke, for all of them. "You turned a deadly cosmic ice storm into a successful scientific research expedition?" "Pretty much," Jake said with a smile. "It was actually perfect weather for this kind of deep water research." Cole was looking at their temperature records from the past 4 days. "According to these readings, you were outside in -200-degree weather for hours at a time." "It was cold," Mark admitted, "but we had good winter gear, and the fishing was too good to pass up." The aliens spent the next several hours examining all the discoveries the humans had made. Every specimen was a new species that had never been documented before. The scientific data was more valuable than anything that had ever been collected in their sector of the galaxy. "This is impossible," Vex said, holding up a container with one of the glowing fish specimens. "You have made discoveries that will change our understanding of life in extreme environments. And you did it by having fun," Rin added, still sounding confused. "You enjoyed yourselves while surviving conditions that would kill our entire species." Jake was showing Nex some of the photographs they had taken of the large, intelligent creature. "This was the most amazing catch," he said. "We think it might be the first intelligent deep ocean species anyone has ever found." "You found a new intelligent species?" Pell asked, looking at the photos in amazement. "What did you do with it?" "We studied it for a while, then put it back in the water," Lisa explained. "It seemed happy to return to its home." The aliens were quiet for a long moment. Finally, Tim spoke up. "On our worlds, when we encounter extreme weather, we run away and hide until it passes. You humans stayed and used the extreme weather to accomplish your mission better than ever before." "Different approaches to problem solving," Mark said. "We saw an opportunity and took advantage of it." As the alien crew members prepared to return to their ships, they were all talking quietly among themselves. They had witnessed something that challenged everything they thought they knew about survival and adaptation. Vex stopped at the airlock before leaving. "Jake, can I ask you something?" "Sure," Jake replied. "Are all humans like this?" "Do all of your people treat impossible situations as opportunities for recreation?" Jake thought about it for a moment. "Pretty much. My cousin went mountain climbing during an avalanche season last year. My sister goes surfing during hurricanes. My brother likes to go camping during blizzards." Vex's red skin turned a darker shade as he processed this information. "Your entire species treats deadly natural disasters as entertainment?" "We like challenges," Lisa said. "It keeps life interesting." After the aliens returned to their ships, the 3 humans continued their work organizing and cataloging their discoveries. The research station was functioning perfectly despite having endured the worst cosmic ice storm in recorded galactic history. Jake looked out the observation windows at the clearing sky and the broken ice floating on the ocean's surface. The storm was completely over now, and normal space weather was returning to their area. "You know what?" Jake said to Lisa and Mark. "If we get another storm like that, we should try bringing some better fishing equipment. Maybe some of those deep water nets we have in storage." Mark nodded enthusiastically. And we should set up more fishing holes. We could probably cover twice as much area next time. Lisa was already making notes in her research journal. I want to study the migration patterns of those deep water species. The next storm might bring up completely different creatures. In their ships, the alien crews were updating their databases with a new entry. Humans, a species that transforms extinction-level events into recreational activities and scientific breakthroughs. Recommend observation from a safe distance. Do not attempt to rescue unless specifically requested. The research station continued its mission, and the humans continued to surprise everyone with their ability to find opportunity in the most impossible situations.